Welcome to episode 1 of our new show. She is Lais, and I am the coach, and that is the name of our show.
First of all, if there's ever been a time for personal bubble, this is
We will always stay true to what we do. What you're doing is going to get you to the next place.
Right.
Throw the list away. It's only a matter of time before you cave.
You can look way better than you used to.
Such a great experience.
Well, like it knows everything you've given.
Shown curiosity.
What if it actually works?
I've been chopped down como persona.
100%.
An extra
You're city right now. Sometimes it is a member.
Welcome, everybody. Peace out, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to Lais and The Coach. And today we have another special guest. As you guys know, a couple weeks ago, we went to the NGA East Coast Classic and we had a blast. So much so that the very following week, we were at the NGA Universe and we were like, we gotta dive deep into this. So I reached out to Matt, who is a promoter of the NGA East Coast Classic, West Coast Classic, Gator Classic.
All of them.
Gator Classic, and we also have the Amateur Extreme.
And he has the Amateur Extreme. So who better to talk to about the NGA, his shows, than the person that puts them together? So Matt, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into anything, how did you get into show promotion?
Well, show promotion for me is, I think everybody as a competitor, they think that they want to get into it. So, you know, it's always, I don't want to say it was a dream, but you always want to move forward. I'm always getting into different stuff, just like, you know, my supplement company, you're always moving forward. You know, even with personal training, you're always expanding. Like
Right.
you have people that, you know, doers and people that, you know, do. So I'm always looking to expand, always looking to do more. And for myself, I've done over 60 shows, you know, for myself. So
Like you competed in 60
yes,
shows.
that I've competed, like I've done, I think all of them in Florida, you know what I mean? But then up north, so I started in 2002. So,
Okay.
you know, it's over 60. I kind of lost track. If I would have known I was going to do so many, I would have just wrote them all down. I tried to once, you know what I mean? But
You lose track.
you do lose track. But for me, I've done that many shows that I've done shows that were really good and shows that were really bad. And I'm just like, and you're spending the same amount of money to do these shows.
Right.
So you're kind of like, you know, I really want to give back. So, you know, I started that. Well, I didn't start it. I don't want to say that. There was a guy, Bill Morrow, and he had the NGA Gator Classic. Well, he moved out of state, and you know the show wasn't doing so well just because he had moved out of state. So it's hard to promote.
Right.
So you know, I helped him with the one show. I had some athletes in the show, and then after we went to dinner and stuff, and I asked him. I said, you know, would you be interested in letting this show go? You know, it's got a great logo and everything like that, and you know, it just needs a little bit of fixing up and a little bit of promotion. He was like, well, maybe. So he thought about it. So once I picked up the Gator Classic, and you know, I mean, it quadrupled in size, you know, the very first year. It just needed some TLC. Bill Moore's a great guy. He actually just recently went pro, I do believe, at the Universe. So he got his pro card there.
Awesome.
So, which is really cool. You know, he lost a bunch of weight, come back around. So great guy. I mean, the guy is amazing for the sport, everything. So then he's, you know, he gave me that. But what I looked at was, what are the other shows doing that are doing very well? Like, what did they give back to the athlete? So, and I can tell people that want to get into promoting as far as that goes, if you're getting in to make money, then just don't. I make way more money doing other stuff. I actually probably lose more money on the day not putting time into my other businesses.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, on that day I could run a sale on my supplement company. I could train people. You know what I mean? There's hundreds of dollars lost on that day messing around with the show. Actually,
Right.
like 3 days because you got Friday, Saturday,
Right.
Sunday.
Right.
You know, you're there all that time, but I love it. If you know, you just recently came to the East Coast, so you can see what I'm talking about. The look on their face, the excitement, like we're dancing around, we're having fun. You know what I mean? Win, lose, or draw. And obviously the people that do, you know, they're the most happy that they won. But I tell them in the athletes meet, I'm like, listen, we're only going to have about 8 people that are super, super happy.
Right.
And the people that win, they're always like, man, you judges are great. Awesome, wonderful night. I'm like, everybody else is like, well,
Right.
I don't know what you judges are looking at. But, you know, but even going back to that, you know, with my judging panel, we can explain all of that as well.
For sure.
Because
for sure.
I use Barbarian Hackett, you know, on Instagram. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's one of the
Yes.
largest vegan bodybuilders in the country, you know, Barbarian Hack. You guys can look him up on Instagram. He has a great phone, and he's actually judged. We'll get back in that. Let's circle back to that. But the reason I got into it was to give back to the athlete.
So
that is why I got into it.
It's very reminiscent. We used to own, I guess, what is like a small group training gym in Miami. And when I started, CrossFit was just taking off. And what I saw is like all these CrossFit boxes that were popping up everywhere were people that love CrossFit that wanted to open their own boxes. They weren't trying to run a business. They were just in love with the thing. They're like, I would just have my own place. And then they all closed because they weren't really, you know, in it for the business side.
There was no business side behind. I see it all the time too. And what happens a lot of times is you'll get these CrossFit places that jump in, and it's not that it's not good or anything. I don't know if the problem is it's not cost effective. I don't know if their structure is good enough to keep them, if they have enough camaraderie. I don't know exactly why, but usually they'll jump up, they'll suck everybody out of the area, boom, and then it just kind of goes this way.
That's exactly it.
So I don't know what the business plan is and or why, but I think that needs a look into.
I think you need both, right? Because it's great if you're passionate about your business and you have passion and you're business savvy, but I think you need both. You can't just love something because there is that business side to it, and then it just
because I hate when people say when you love something you'll never work a day. It's like the opposite. When you love it, you can't stop working, right? Because you do it so much. So but if you're going to build a business around it, then there has to be some logistics involved, and you have to have some business sense. Because if not, that passion will turn into something you hate, you know, over time if you don't
or it just won't work.
Right, unless it's just a hobby that you're doing. You know, in your case where you're giving back, you want the shows to be better, you're a competitor, like it all gels together and you can see how.
Right. But there is a small correction in that, meaning with the shows, there's really not much, if any, money that comes my way. Because if you look at my trophy table, that's a $6,000-$7,000 trophy table. Look at other shows. And I'm not bashing any other shows. No. What I say for the athletes is do all the shows you want. I just hope that you try one of mine.
Right.
Because once you do, you guys see, I have DJ Nelson. DJ Nelson's the best DJ in the land. But he costs an arm.
Of course.
He doesn't play around. And we're personal friends. We're great, but business is business. He knows when I'm going to pay him, I pay him. He'll have trouble with, whether it's clubs or other promoters or stuff like that, not paying him, things like that. He is expensive. He costs. But that's what I get for my show.
Exactly.
My MC is, and not bashing anybody, but it's not my grandmother from church. That, hey, do you want to do the MC for the day? No, he cost me a few $100s. Like, he's a professional MC, you know what I mean? He does wrestling stuff, and I've taught him the criteria of it. Everything, you know what I mean? Even from your panel of judges, you know what I mean? I pay them top. If it's there, I give it to them.
Of course.
I want them to be excited. I want them to be happy to be there. NGA Gator Productions is what I run everything under, the 4 shows. Mm-hmm. So people know, anybody that's ever tried a Gator Production show understands what I'm talking about. You've brought your athletes, and you're just like, oh, that's Matt show, it's Gator. I don't know, but I'm going because it's going to be good.
Honestly, that's exactly it. And one of the things that we have always said is when we're helping somebody get ready for a show, like, we talk about the experience all the time. Because to your point, you don't always leave happy with a win, right? But if you go into it under the experience part, it's like I'm leveraging a show to improve my fitness or get better or whatever the reason somebody picks
goal,
to get into a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
You're still looking at 3 days of your life where that experience should be good, as opposed to, I just worked my ass off for 20, 30 weeks. Yeah. And now I'm going to go into a shitty weekend too, on top of that.
Right. They're messing up my music. The tans are terrible.
Yes.
And to that note, I use hotspot tanning. They're the best in the land. Mm-hmm. They use liquid sun rays. Their customer service is phenomenal. They spray and glaze everybody, even if you didn't use them. They're very personable. They do the hair and makeup and stuff like that. I just use the top of the line. People, you have to.
So let's get into some of the logistics, because I think for the first-time competitor or for the experienced competitor, what are some of the things that the competitors should be doing as they're picking a show or thinking about a show that would help the promoter have a better idea of what they're looking at in terms of layout and planning ahead? how far out would you prefer that they register? If they're going to do multiple categories, should they do them all at once or should they wait? Like, what are you looking for on your side?
What I'd like to see on my side in a perfect world, as soon as you know, register. Register, pay your entry so I know you're in, because there's a difference between registering and then paying, because those people, you know what I mean, they're not guaranteed to be there. So register, pay. I know how big a party I'm planning. You know, sometimes, and
I
I'll
love
plan.
that, because that's what it should be, the party.
It is.
Yeah.
And I make goodie bags, and people tell you they're the best goodie bags. Sometimes I buy the stuff for them. I want the athlete to be like, wow. Athletes come up like, what do you got for the goodie bags? Right. I'm like, right. You know, at some of the shows we've done the glass, they're kind of that big, but they're the thick, probably the 12-ounce, 16-ounce glasses with that head, like the bar glasses. Like the real nice ones with the logo. They love them. I buy those.
Right.
Like, those aren't just given to me and stuff like that, because I don't care. I want to give to the athlete. My other businesses make money. This is, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I want to give back to the athlete. I could use these record player DJs. I could use, you know what I mean? I could just give just little medals. I could give, but it does amaze me the things that athletes will put up with. They're just like, oh, well, that show. I'm like, you keep doing it. I don't bash anybody. I don't say anything bad about promoters or shows. I say, but you guys keep going back.
Right.
The experience is everything.
Right. But do you think that the athletes do that because they don't know better, or because they're trying to compete so much? Is the person chasing their pro card willing to do whatever at any show just to earn their pro card? Or is it that they just haven't experienced something better and they don't know?
I wonder if it's because they haven't experienced something better. It's just kind of like if I come in here and I punch you in the face once, you might be like, hey, that was cool the first time, but if I do it again, you're like, yeah, that's kind of what you're going to do. Yeah. They'll do these things multiple times. I'm like, but you guys expect it to keep getting better, and you're supporting them. So what it's doing by supporting like shows that just are not up to par and forcing the promoter to keep up, because they keep getting the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, then at that point, it's just watering down the sport, because now you only have so many athletes. They can only compete so many times. So if we take some of the shows out, just leave the good ones. But that's up to the athletes to control.
Right.
I can't control
Show
that.
up, right.
But for me, and even we keep seeing shows pop up in the last couple of years have been tough on everybody, because your shows just keep popping up. A lot of these organizations are throwing them like on my dates. Like even within distance of my show, I'm like, do you guys?
It's so savage and cutthroat.
Oh, it is.
It's crazy.
But what they don't realize is I don't care. I'm just, the athletes that come to mine are going to have an amazing experience, and it's not about the money. You're not going to run me out as far as that goes, because I'm going to keep giving back. And now the numbers are starting to rise. Things are starting to see, because a lot of these people got into it for the money. Well, by doing that, they can't afford to go $10,000 in the hole to try to play that game. We can all work together.
Right.
We really can. If they would just check dates and look, mine are about the same time of the year. So piggyback before or after. Doing it on the same date is only hurting the athletes, because they want to do both.
How much have you seen bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding, grow in the last decade compared to maybe when you started?
In the last decade, quite a bit. It is quite a bit, but in the last couple of years is where I think it's hurting a lot, because you're getting a lot of people that just have this dream. They see some shows doing good, and they're like, well, I'm going to throw one in. I'm like, you can only have so many shows. You really can. For myself, a lot of people don't compete like I would. Let's see, in 2004, usually I'll do 3, 4 to 5 shows a year, because I'm like, if I'm already in shape, I'll just link them all together and do them all. I did 10 shows back to back in 2014. Wow. Yeah, it almost killed me, but I was just so focused on it. But a lot of times you get a 1 or 2 and done athlete for the year.
Right.
How many athletes does it take to fill 50, 60, 70 athletes per show?
Right.
There's not that many. You know what I mean? So...
But that happens really everywhere, because even like we have a bikini designer in South Africa, and she was telling us that they do the same thing over there, where they'll put show dates in the same time to take people, but it's like you're saying, instead of making them choose, like they want to do all of it. They want to do both.
Yes.
And I also want to go back to the experience part, because I think as a competitor and as a coach, like a lot of times the reason why people get so caught up in that outcome, in the judging, is because they're not focused on the experience. And if more promoters or more, federation owners were focused on the experience, you would have less unhappy people. Because of course we all want to win. We all want our work validated, normal. But I think if that experience is top notch, which we did see in your show, like we were talking about all of it, like from the crowns to the trophies to like the way that everything looked, it's like that would change the way a lot of people feel after a show. Like I feel like if more people did shows that focus on the experience, like what you're saying, you could have more than 8 people happy, right? After a weekend is over.
Well, and usually you only get about 1 or 2 that's not, but then after talking to my judges, and it's not about the experience, it's about their placing.
Correct.
But that is also too why, but we'll keep with it. Let's just stay on the experience and we'll get to the judging because that's a whole nother thing. But with like the experience, I always had food for them afterwards. I've been to shows where I'm like, man, I'm sorry, like there's nothing even, you know, so like my Gator Classic, I always do like a barbecue. That's kind of my biggest one. That's where it's a little more gourmet. It's a little more, you know what I mean? That's it.
Love that.
You know what I mean? But a lot of them are, you know, like a pizza, like things like that, just to give you a little something.
For sure.
Pizza, some cupcakes, some sweets, you know, you deserve, like, man, you want to get off stage and get that. And as an athlete, a lot of people don't notice this from the outside, but I know if I fill up at the show, I save $50 because when I go out with everybody else, the family and stuff like that, I'll get a salad. I'm like, I'm already stuffed with, with garbage.
Right.
Like I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah.
I'm being serious from an athlete side.
Yeah.
You know, like I've done shows and I'm like, I'm going to fill up on this. Why? I'll get a steak tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so, cause I'd get one tonight and tomorrow, so you're $100 deep. Like I really think, and they got it for us.
Right.
And the good promoters are like, fill up. Like I always tell them, I'm like, fill up. Like my East Coast Classic is pizza and Oreos. That's what it always is. That's why if you were back there, you've seen all the Oreos because the theme is like pizza and Oreos.
That's so cool.
And I have and I wish Oreos were cheap.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should reach out to Oreos.
No, I actually might because it is crazy. Like how like Oreos are like what $5-6 a pack.
Yeah.
And I make sure I get 2 packs of like every flavor there. You know what I
my
mean?
God.
But I even like the idea of a themed.
Yes, a
Post-show,
themed fill up.
yeah.
Yeah, people kind of know to expect.
But see,
like,
that's
this
someone
one
that
is this.
cares about what they're doing in the experience.
Because I'm an athlete. And the crazy thing is, since I competed after I've promoted, I pick it apart. I'm like, well, you guys could really do this. Like now that I know all the intertwinings, I'm like, oh man. You know, in the experience, it comes down a lot to the expediters too.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends in the industry. Most of them are just all my friends. So I've either trained them, got them a first place on stage, coached them, stuff like that. And they care. They're like, man, we can really be involved with these guys. Like, I'm like, right, you're the last person they see. So there's no like, hurry up, let's go. No, they get exactly what they want. And I tell them in the athletes meeting, I'm like, if something's not going your way and one of my expediters or something cannot make you happy, I want to talk to Matt. Get me. I will come make it right.
I love that.
And I think there's been once in the last 5 years, but then I told her the same thing that they were telling her. She's like, oh, okay.
But at least they know you're available.
I'm available.
Right.
Find me.
Right.
I'm not very far. Get me.
And
I
you're
wanna
easy
talk
to
Matt.
find.
Yes.
Especially on again, like from the competitor side, it's like nerves are high, stress is high, like
Adrenaline.
you know, adrenaline's high. To know that you're going to be treated well,
Yes.
right, kind of takes some of the edge off the show part.
My expediters have all been there. Like, you know what I mean? I use the same team. Like, we know what we're doing. We're not, I swear you go to some shows, like, is this the first time you did this? Like the 10th annual. It's because they don't have a team, and it comes down to you can't micromanage them. You have, you know, your what would you call it? Like your spots, your departments almost. You know
Right.
what I mean? I don't go up there and tell DJ knows what to do. He knows what to do. Like, you know what I mean? As far as that goes. And when your athletes come up and like, oh, I'm nervous. No, you got this. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's from athlete to athlete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everyone's going to come up, wait, do T walk or I walk? And
Everyone.
just about everyone. And I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll tell you right before you go on.
Right.
And they're like, wait, what am I doing? That box, pose, come back. That's it.
Yeah.
See what she's doing. Oh, okay. They don't remember. And you are going to get the same question 100 times, and that's okay. And if you have somebody that's not really loving to do it, they're like, you know, I told you guys, you know, this is what we're... No, that's not how you treat them.
Right.
And
Yes.
I would not use them again. You know what I mean?
Especially in that moment, it's not how you treat them, you know, because
No.
everyone's like stressed out. Let's get into judging, like
Yeah.
you said. Let's
We
talk
love talking
about
about
the
judging.
judging.
100%. So the judging, I have Barbarian Hack. You guys have, you know, you obviously
Yes.
know who he is. Very big in the industry. And, you know, he's my head judge. So everything runs through him as far as, you know, the final, everything, the final count. And I have a great panel of judges. You know, And I use them all. Like I always use the same. I swap out just a couple and they'll help for expediting, and then I'll kind of keep them a little bit fresh like that. But athletes know them. So when you don't get the place that you want, and you're all bent out of shape, because a lot of people are, because everybody goes there to win and they think they won. Hack will tell you, he'll like, you didn't check the boxes. Like, what do you mean? Well, X, Y, and Z, this is why. You don't get those generic answers like, well, your tan was off, your hair, you don't really smile. Like, you know what I mean? Like when judges aren't watching. And they know my judges are taking notes so they can give you real feedback. And also, I don't have anything to do with my judging.
I was going to ask you that. Are you involved?
No, nothing. I don't know who wins. I don't know who loses until after it happens. And it's a little more fun for me. Like when I'm holding the overall trophy, I'm like, man, like what? I don't even know who's going to win. And I could find out, but I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? My tabulator tabulates all the stuff and then puts it back out there, and all the scores go out there. And I can tell you this is actually a true story, and I will not mention any other organizations with Hack. He's banned off of other panels because he's honest. He's had on in other organizations, you have athletes up there, and guys tell him, hey, that's my athlete. He's like, I don't care. I do not care. He knows what it's like to be an athlete. He knows what it's like to
It's the last thing you want is to be judged unfairly.
Yeah. Neck down. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what I've explained to a lot of the athletes, because I'll get some teams and things like that. Like, well, we don't like this one person, so I think they're just not going to judge my person fair. I said the worst thing they could do is not judge a person fair, because then their score doesn't count. We have a panel of 5 judges.
Right.
You cut out the top and the bottom.
Right. So for competitors that don't know how the judging works, you have a panel of 5.
Yep.
Okay. And then the top and lowest get thrown out.
Yep.
Okay. Did you get that?
Right. So if they don't like you and they give you a 5th place out of first, and you should have, well, they get thrown out.
Right.
Well, and if they get like all first, you pull 2 first. If you get, anywhere in the middle, so you can see. And I've actually had coaches be like, well, they're not fair. I said, let me pull up the scores. Let me see. I'm like, no, they were right on bank with the winners. And they're like, well, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? So there's no way you can mess it up. This is actually a true story. I've had athletes come in. It was at the Gator Classic probably 3 years ago. We were on stage. I was giving out the trophy to the guy that got first, and I just barely met him. I kind of know him. He was in the pros. Well, he beat my buddy. And right on stage, my buddy's like, man, what happened? Well, I don't know. I can't remember specifically if it was on stage or if it was backstage, because my buddy was telling the story. Not my buddy, but the guy that had won, and now he is my friend. He goes, I knew your shows were fair, and I knew they were straight when this guy asked you, he's like, Matt, what happened? Because he thought he was going to the winner. I'm like, I don't know. Ask the judges.
Right.
Like I thought he was going
to do with that.
I have nothing to do with it. I said, you're my buddy. I've actually sponsored athletes because people know there was a men's physique guy that I was sponsored for, our pro guy, and great physique. I mean, he was winning, and you could see like he's the winner. Well, this one guy kept gunning for him, and I'm friends with him too. But they know I sponsor him and stuff like that. But they knew that it wasn't hokey. But then after a while, he beat him. And I congratulated him. I'm like, man, that was all. I went backstage to this guy. You beat my guy. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. Because I don't have anything to do with it. When I sponsor him, I give him free product. I pay for some of his food. Like, I do things like that. You know what I mean? A lot of times I pay your entry, pay your travel, things like that when Ammannomics sponsors them. But it has nothing to do with my promotion stuff. And these athletes are seeing that because they're like, he's like, man, I wanted to beat him like forever. I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, this is my guy. I mean, I wish he would beat you, but awesome. That's awesome. You beat him.
I think a lot of times the competitors forget the competitive part of the bodybuilding part, right? Like, because if you're watching a race, it's always clear. The winner's a winner.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. If you're watching any sport, there's a score.
Basketball, soccer,
right?
whatever.
But I think a lot of times there's so much emotion involved in the way that you look that you forget that it is subject to interpretation, and you forget that you're competing and that there's got to be a winner, and that it isn't always going to be they ran faster, they scored more points. It's going to be they looked better, right? And that one's harder to swallow sometimes. How did somebody look as good as me when I prepped so hard? Because everybody remembers how they prepped. I trained hard. I ate my food.
Everybody did. That's
everybody did.
That's why they're in the shape that they're in. I can actually give you a story because Gator Productions will actually do an evening gown. So we have the evening gown class, and it wasn't my favorite thing at the beginning, but Jen Michelli brought it to me. She has the Fit for Life team. She brought it to me. I'm like, I don't know, like it's not sanctioned or anything. And well, she's like, no, it'd be really cool. I'm really let me think about it. Well, a lot of the girls are like, are you gonna do the evening gown? Like, I'm like, if you guys want it, I'll do it. Like, you better bring the athletes. And they're like, okay. So it's done very well. They like it. It's non-sanctioned, but the girls love it. A lot of them will do, their other classes, but then jump into that at night. You've seen that, and they love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, that was one of the things, like, I was texting a lot of our girls, because one of the things that we have always said is that this is great when it can translate into real life, right? So you're in shape, but if you're in great shape and you can go to a party and wear something that accentuates that, that's the magic of it, right? Because now you took this awesome physique that fits into a great dress, and you can have the best of both worlds, as opposed to the person that looks great in a dress, but if they took it off, there's nothing to show there sometimes.
But there's a flip side of that. The flip side is, you get a lot of people in transformation, stuff like that. Maybe they can only start with the evening gown.
Yeah.
Because you can hide some things. You can, you need one leg exposed, out of the slit, but you cannot touch the dress. Touching the dress is an absolute no. In a pose, yes, but you can't move the dress. That's one of the biggest things. You want your full back exposed and at least one arm. But think about it. We have a lot of transformation girls come down like, I don't want to go on stage. I'm going to do evening gown.
Yeah.
Right. So they do that, get a little bit of stage comp, and then maybe the next year or the next show they do bikini.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's great for both aspects of it.
Absolutely. We love the idea.
For anybody that's in amazing shape and has done multiple shows, they get to have that glitz, glam, feminine side. And then for anybody who's just beginning, they can kind of ease their way in and not be so exposed.
And even the transformation categories, like it's always been one of our favorites across the board.
Yes.
Because it does allow the person that may not be bikini ready or wellness ready.
Transformation used to be my favorite. Now it's the 70 plus. I am obsessed with the 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus. I mean, insane. Like what you guys did that weekend was insane to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little something to think about. Gator Productions, the Gator Classic May 10th, may have a 100 plus class. I'm going to leave it there.
What?
It may.
In May. Well, we'll be there for sure.
We will be there.
Or I should say, it may in May.
It may. In
there
May.
we go.
There
May.
we go.
What is the date? Do you have a date yet?
We have May 10th.
May 10th.
And we're gonna put all the show dates
shows,
in the
all
show
the pages,
notes,
all
of it.
Yeah.
We were watching East Coast Classic when it went over 50, and we had Jen on the show too, because we were blown away by her charisma on stage, and it was honestly so inspiring because we're always talking about the longevity involved in this sport if you do it right? And how far you can have this as the thing that you do as an adult. Because we often talk about this being an adult's thing. As kids, like our son does martial arts, kids do sports, and then you become an adult and then you're just adulting.
Your life is your thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So
work and kids and
this
family.
becomes the thing that some people can lean into that has nothing but positives involved, right? Because you could do it for so long, just improves your health. I mean, you're working out consistently, you're eating right. Long term, it's nothing but upside. And I don't think that it gets enough credit. Have you always had a turnout in that over 50 crowd?
No, it's hit and miss because it's natural bodybuilding. But we usually get a pretty good, I mean, we have some 50s and 60s guys. Usually you'll get the same train of them and then you'll pick up like another one. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those guys stay in shape, but we do have a few that are coming down. We're getting another. I think the one guy in the 60s, he's on his way. He dropped like 50 or 60 pounds. And then wait till you see him next year. Like that was his first show. He'll do some more as far as that goes. I don't have a guy in his 90s, but I do have that Rich Raven. He's in his 80s.
Okay,
we remember.
Yes. Yeah,
so
it looked amazing.
I would love to find a 90s guy, and so that you have 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
It's amazing.
If you're 90,
yes.
come talk to us.
I need a 90s guy. Somebody in their 90s. So
going
That
back
would
to
be so cool.
judging, what do you think some of the people should do in terms of prepping for a show to get a better gauge of what the judges are looking for. Do you think some of the athletes really don't understand judging?
Oh, absolutely. I've had some athletes that they're registering like at the show, you know, the morning of, because I don't cut it off, or not the morning of, but the evening of, you know, on the Friday. And as clueless as they are, I'm surprised. But I do think it comes down to the athlete.
Okay.
Because all my information, my personal numbers on my cards, like on my show cards, it's on the site, it's over here. If you have any idea that you're doing that show, there's an athletes page where, you know, you get a lot of information on there. You can reach out to me, like whether it's on Instagram or personally, you can gather the information. You have to make sure you're gathering that. And unfortunately, there are some coaches out there that, I mean, these coaches should really be educating them. You know, if you have a good coach, he's like, okay, get registered, do this, this is what's happening. You know what I mean? So they
do you see a lot of people picking the wrong category?
It's not necessarily that it's wrong, but I do tell, I mean, it does happen, but I do tell people, I'm like, do as many categories, wherever you think you might, where you want to go. And if it's your first show, do your novice stuff, do all the classes you can. It's more, by the time you're up there 4 or 5 times, you know, you're comfortable.
Yeah.
So do your novice stuff, do your open stuff. So, you know, say you're doing bikini and figure. You're not quite sure where you go. Well, do them both, learn the poses, and then go talk to the judges. They might be like, well, you're in between. Or if you want to do this, you need more muscle. Or no, you're definitely bikini, just focus here. Or you're definitely that, you know.
But at least you'll get an answer from the judges.
Would definitely get an answer. You know, and if, as an athlete, I know when I would talk to judges, I'm like, give it to me raw. Tell me what. So if you go to my judges, you're like, no sugarcoating. Let's just have it. And they're usually like that, but professional as well. Because they'll just tell you, like, you just, no.
When you have people that maybe aren't necessarily full hybrids, but can fit into different categories, does it make it more difficult for the ones that are true to one particular category to judge? Even, for example, if you're wellness, right, but you're a little bit more muscular, so you kind of could be figure, does it make the figure girl unsure of how she should come in, or vice versa? Have you seen that? Or
no, because the only time those hybrids work, and you know, you can ask my judges, because we've had some guys, there was a guy that he wants to be classic so bad, but he won the bodybuilding. And you're like, well, I win classic like at these other shows. You're posing bodybuilding and you squeezed your legs. If you're a true hybrid, you switch up your posing. Don't squeeze your legs because you're razor sharp, but you can pull both off. But you have to fit it. And, you know, my judges will tell you, well, you can't go into bikini and you want to do both, but you did bikini poses in both.
You have to show up for that category.
If you're that good, like I've had, I've trained some girls that have went pretty high up, and they can do not bikini, but figure and wellness. Not wellness, no, it was figure and physique. They squeezed it, the muscle and everything for physique, but for figure, do not squeeze because you're already lean enough. And they have that waist, they have it, and if you can move that leg just right, bodybuilding's an illusion.
right.
Yes.
It's what you can show on that day. I've seen guys that just are amazing lose to the guy that can pose. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
100%.
your posing's terrible. But if you're a true hybrid, it doesn't skew the classes at all. Because my judges will tell you, they can pose it both.
And how does the judging feedback work for you guys? Meaning, like, is that something that the athlete can go right after the show? Is that something that happens throughout the weekend via email? Because every federation does that very different in terms of how the athletes can get their feedback.
For Gator Productions, we want information now. We want information fresh. So I say, stay after the show. As soon as the show's done, get in line.
Love it.
Talk to the judges while it's fresh. I said, why wait till Monday to email them? But the problem is some of them that are upset, like, I'm leaving, I'm gone. And they don't want to wait.
Yeah.
So then later, they're like, I mean, I remember you. It's not going to be as fresh. It's just not. But I want you to have the information as long as, you know, while it's still fresh. And my judges love talking to you. They'll talk to you all night. You know, they'll help you. They'll get, you know, and a lot of times you're not getting the answers you want, but you understand the answers. You're not getting, your color was off, your tan was off, you didn't smile. You know, you're not getting those answers. Those answers are for judges that they don't remember.
Right.
They don't.
When it comes to posing, is there Is there something that the athlete should be working on more than just getting on stage and looking confident? Like, are there specific or mandatory poses that they should nail that sometimes get lost because they're so worried about how they look or their tan? And how much do they lose out by not posing the right way?
Oh, you can lose an entire show because you can't pose. Especially in, I mean, I understand it's not sanctioned, but evening gown is all attitude. You know what I mean? It's sexy, elegant. That's what it is. And some girls will come on there sexy. And I'm like, nah, that is not what we're doing. You know, you need elegance. So it's all on how you carry yourself, especially in that one. And even all the other poses, you need to know the mandatory poses. So if you don't have a coach, then you need to find the avenues, you know, reach out to me. I'll put you in contact with a coach, posing coach, that I know they know what they're talking about. You know, I'm not going to steer you wrong as far as that goes. And as a coach, you know, coaches need to be reaching out to me, and I'll tell you where you can find this information. And or you can either learn from them, send them there. And these posing coaches that I have worked with people won't steal your athletes, because that's not a good game.
Right.
You know, I feel confident they're going to be, you know, because you know, athletes are like, well, what do you think about like my diet? Well, no. Because I tell my posing coaches, I cannot send somebody to you if you're going to manipulate them into then like using you because you're like, well, you know, no, we pose. That's all we do. We pose, talk to your coach about your diet.
It's a topic that I wish was talked about more. The importance of having that guidance, having a coach that is going to take you down, specifically the path that you want to go down, right? Because I think obviously every coach has their approach, but I think a lot of times the athlete, when they don't know better, isn't sure what they want to do and will, I guess, be subject to doing whatever the coach wants them to do, and sometimes doesn't get the experience they thought they were going to get. How important is having the right support system when it or coach when it comes to competing beyond the one show?
It's extremely important because, and this is one of the biggest posts that I put out, like on my Instagram. Every once in a while I'll drop it back in because a lot of people don't see, and then, you know, it gets buried in like hundreds of posts, stuff like that. When you choose a coach, you must be very careful. We have so much information today, like even for myself in coaching. Google it. You're going to find 20 years of stuff. You know, because you get a lot of these guys, you know, you get these, even in some of the gyms, you'll get these kids that are 18, they don't know anything about anything. You got grandma over there squatting. Why does this person know what they know? Sit down and talk with them. Ask them questions respectfully. Do they have other athletes? Have they trained other people? What's their body look like? Can they at least pull up a history of, you know, because as coaches, we don't stay in the best of shape. Like we stay muscular, but
busy.
We're busy, but we're not, you know, not staying like fine tuned. But can we find pictures of that? Like, where did you do this, and why aren't you now?
You know, funny, we were literally just talking about that. And my thing is always this: if you're an athlete, if you're a professional athlete, would you not take football advice from Bill Belichick? Because he doesn't look like he's played a day in his life now. Right? But who better to give you advice than him? So you're right. It's like, look at the history of what somebody's done and then decide whether or not they can give you the information that you're looking for and get you to where you want to go. Because like that guy is, you know.
Yeah, I think in our industry though, it is important to people if you've either been in shape or are in shape, because it's like, because then you lived it too. Versus other sports is like, most of these coaches haven't really ever played at the level. Like LeBron's coaches have never played at his level. Right. But it's like, but they have the outside eye and they have a different perspective, and they can tell you what to do in a lot of ways, even though they've never really done it. But I think in our sport, it's different because you kind of do have to live it to like understand and to, you know, be able to actually relate. But also on that note, I think that you could be the best coach in the world by a lot of standards and merits, but you're still not going to be a great coach for everybody. No. So I think inside of somebody knowing their stuff and looking the part and achieving things, great. But it's like, is this the right coach for you? Because it is a relationship.
Right. The coaching relationship 100%. Is important, and everybody also wants to be coached differently. Some people need more attention. Some people need less. Some people respond better to being left alone. Some people need, a little bit more hands-on.
Absolutely.
And you've got to find that match. And you've got to, as an athlete, you've got to know that it's out there. Imagine if there was like a Match.com
coaches.
right? And you did like all the criteria. I'm looking for somebody who,
You shouldn't have said that out loud in case you want to come up with it.
Right?
I know. It's already out there. It's
Probably
somebody
is.
AI did. It's done.
Right.
It's already out.
ChatGPT it.
But
yes.
know as an athlete that whatever you're looking for is out there. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get the outcome you want.
Correct.
But the coach that you're looking for is out there.
Yes.
And then you get to, well, am I getting the outcome that I'm looking for? Am I stepping on stage the way I want to step on stage? Am I progressing, right? Because even show to show, like we see it now in the IFBB, it's like coach to coach to coach to coach to coach to coach, right? And it's like the magic coach has a secret recipe. No one's curling any different, right? Like the push-ups are the same, the squats are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the connection is really one of the main things that I see should be emphasized more, along with, are you getting the outcome that you want? Are you being taken care of? Are you being serviced?
In a way that feels
Are you
good
being
for you.
helped? Are you being guided?
Yeah.
Because if not, then there
You're
are
not gonna have a good experience.
right.
Yeah.
And we go back to the experience part.
Everything.
No, absolutely. And, it just goes back to, you wouldn't hire a financial advisor that filed bankruptcy. A lot of them, if you have a bankruptcy, you can't work there. They're like, I can't have you work here. Like, you filed bankruptcy. Like, what are you doing? As far as that goes. But, I know coaching for me, I'll tell people, like, do a little bit of research, or, even if they've already judged me, it's funny because, like, a few months later, they're like, kind of Googled you. You're kind of out there. Like, you do some stuff. I'm like, right? I'm like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't have to sell. I don't sell it. There's no, you know what I mean? It kind of sells itself as far as that goes. And I am one of those babysitting coaches. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
so are we.
but it's about the experience.
Yes.
It is. I've been there where I don't know the answer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But over the years, I've gotten more straightforward answers. I'm like, is it on the paper? What can I have? I'm like, did we write that down? I'm like, oh. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, some of them, I'm so hungry. I'm like, okay, well, have a couple cups of green beans and go to bed.
Have some water.
They're like, what? I'm like, yes, I've been there. But because you felt your stomach hit your backbone before.
Yes.
And you're like,
It's like eating itself.
yeah, you're like, is this happening? But you know how it feels. So, you know what I mean? You can do it as far as that goes.
I want to talk about the natural side of things. This natural bodybuilding world.
Yes, and then I'll piggyback into, because I want to talk about like the person that sees somebody on stage and thinks that's not for me because it's too much and I could never get no, but let's go into the,
Well, I
because
think
it'll tie in.
I think a lot of times, at least for me, right? Like we've gone to NPC shows and we've seen everything that we see on the internet. I never really thought so much about like, oh, but that person's natural or that person's not natural. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's a choice. And at the end of the day, you still got to put in the work.
Right.
There is no magic supplement, right? However, it is very impressive to know and to look at a stage where everybody there is 100% natural. And a lot of federations, I think, not to knock anybody, will say that they're natural, but then their process doesn't really show that. And I think that in a world where you're supposed to be, it matters. In a world where it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But in a world where that's the criteria, right, then it's like it matters. So walk us through that process, because we just had our athletes go through it and I thought it was so cool. I'm like, we should have recorded that.
And for the record, she's been accused of not being natural.
I know.
And
I never thought that was a thing. Like I see people put it on their bios on
she won't even
Instagram
take
and
an
I'm like,
Advil.
I
Well, you
can't.
get some haters. You'll get haters. If somebody looks too good, they're like, oh,
They've got to be.
I'm like,
I had some athletes, in the past that have went very far. Like, she can't be natural. No, she is. I know she is. Like, she's 1,000%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because it comes down to genetics. It doesn't, even like you're talking with like the drug world and things like that. Those only get you so far. Your genetics will only go so far, and what are you amplifying? It's like if you take a 4-cylinder engine and you put nitric, NOS to it, it's only going to perform so much. You're probably going to blow it out.
Yeah.
But if you have an engine that's already built and then you add to it, that's the difference as far as that goes. But with the natural world, what we do is we polygraph everybody the night before the show. And we're finding a lot of organizations now are cutting that out. They're cutting out the the polygraphs, because I'll get a lot of people say, they're like, well, you can pass polygraph. Like you can, calm yourself down, or you can take Xanax or something. I don't know. They've just said all kinds of stuff, and you can get through it. I go, but it's another deterrent. I said, okay, most people aren't like criminals to where they can actually just be like, nope, I'm not taking any drugs, and their arms are blowing out of their t-shirts.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
right.
And you have a visual as well. But to add to that, I have had somebody get through the polygraph, and then I popped them on the urine because they did get their pro card. They popped on the urine. I called them. I said, hey, so this was in the bloodstream, so you're disqualified and banned. And they give you well, I didn't know. Well, my coach gave me something like before, and I'm like, and this particular person worked in an industry that they know better. Like, I'm like, you know exactly, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, we did catch them in the urine. So, and we will periodically. And for me, I'm not here. I don't have time to call everybody out. Like, there's like a blacklist and all this stuff. Like, I'm going to call you up and tell you, you failed. And if you're a pro, it hasn't happened since I've started giving out cash, because I give out cash on stage for my pros. Now, NJ Gator Productions does not keep any nor make any money off of pro entry fees. I split it up. It's, what do you got? What is it? 70, 30, 10, 70, 80, 90, 20, 10. So we split up all the prize money, that way. So as many people are up there, it's a $200 entry fee. You could do the math.
Right.
And you got paid out. And that's what I tell these athletes. I'm like, bring $10,000 worth of prize money. I'm giving it back to you guys.
Right.
Like, bring it back, because a lot of organizations are like, well, we pay this much. Even though they're like guaranteed $1,500, but they're making money because there's more than that, and people want this guaranteed money. I'm like, mine doesn't have a cap.
Right.
And I'll even say this on stage when they win. I give them cash. I'm like, I'm giving you this cash now. Like, you're going to pass the urine test, right? And they're like, oh yeah, definitely, for sure. And it hasn't happened yet since I've given cash that I had to call somebody. I said, now, and I'm on stage, just in front of everybody. I'm like, now, if you don't, I'm going to call you and I'm going to ask for my money back. If you don't give it to me, I'm blowing you up on social media that you owe me money.
I love that.
I'm serious. I'm
Right.
like, otherwise,
Right.
send it back and then we're good.
Or don't come to the stage, right? It's
Right.
like, you know what you're getting into. It's on purpose.
So polygraph before the show,
Love
urine
it.
test
After.
if they win.
Yes, usually the all the cash winners, anybody that wins cash will get urine tested. And then some pro cards, we'll do some random pro card testing and stuff like that. Like if we think, or just random. Sometimes we test them all, but that's not a requirement, but I test most of them.
That's awesome.
I've even had some organizations try to call me out. I've had athletes that were kind of talking smack on the NGA, and this guy reached out to me. He was out of New York, and he goes, hey, Matt, from the Gator Classic 5 years ago, he goes, can you send me my results? Because if they don't, because a lot of times they'll collect the P and not actually pay the money to get them processed.
Right.
And they're just like, yeah, nope, everybody's good. Because somebody was saying, oh, Matt doesn't, they don't do urine tests, or he didn't actually do it. And because you'll reach out to a promoter and they'll tell you like, oh, well, we don't have the record of it anymore. It's in my email.
Yeah. How do you
So
know?
I went, where was the show, the date? Let me look up here. I said, yeah, here it is, bud. It's dated. Boom. I got it to him. I said, I'm not home. When I get home, blah, blah, I'll dig through. I sent it to him. And then, because he was an advocate for, NGA and Gator
Right.
Productions. So he was like, here you go. And they're like,
From an experience.
oh, yeah, that was it.
No, I was gonna say from an experience perspective, it's actually really cool because how many people can say they've done a polygraph, right, for something positive, like
Right.
you're not in trouble,
Right.
Yeah.
But then also, I think as an athlete, as a natural athlete, like you were saying,
Our girls
like,
loved it.
Our girls loved it. They were like,
They
it
thought
was so cool. I was so nervous. But I think as a natural athlete myself, I think it is one of those things. It's almost like, yeah, here's my proof, because
Yeah.
it's like. I
Yeah.
want the proof, and it's like
Right.
no one's gonna go drug test themselves because then people also wouldn't even trust it.
Right. Well, and I've also had some people then try to get on me a little bit. They're like, well, why does that cost the athlete? Like, why is the athlete paying? I'm like, for one, I can't just rack up another $5,000 and,
Right.
I got to pay the guy. He comes out, he's an old, he's an old police officer, whatever he did. So he has the real experience. So he comes in and he does it. He makes the money. He gets the money. You know what I mean? And, just as far as that goes, they were asking, do you think we should do away with them or just do random? I'm like, no. As an athlete, Is it worth the couple of bucks for you to know, well, I did mine, you did yours? Everybody's up there even. Like it is even. So you're already this deep in the sport. These athletes aren't really making money. What's another $60 or something?
Right.
You know, you're already that deep to know.
And as an athlete, you should want to do that. You should want everybody else to do that. So there is a level playing field.
100%.
But I did want to ask about the people, because obviously, like, what is it? Like 1% of the population will ever even do something like this. So
It's probably less. But
right.
What's the stats? The abs versus the $1 million?
Oh, it's like you're more likely to become a millionaire than have visible abs.
Yeah.
It's a
per as many people as there,
for the person looking at these physiques on stage, you know, and they're like, man, like I wish I could, but I could never do that. Do you find that having the stamp of a natural federation promotes the possibility more than the ones that are not? Because there's obviously going to be the person, right? They're going to be like, well, you know, they're doing drugs, so I could never. I don't want to do drugs. Okay, but these people are not, and they're still doing it. Now, what do I say? You know, have you seen that more people find it encouraging to take that leap and pursue it at least once, knowing that it's a fair playing field?
Oh, of course, because you can have, you know, like athletes out of school. You know, you get people that were athletes or people that just do, you know, you do a lot of transformation stuff like that. It gives them a place. I watch people come from transformation. There's one girl, and she was big, like she had some weight to lose. Well, I watched her do transformation, win that a couple of times, and then she went in, I believe it was figure. She was like 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, all the way up, got a pro card, and started winning pro shows.
That's amazing.
She wanted it. I mean, and you know, she's an amazing lady, and she just, yes, the possibility's there because everybody's on a level playing field.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And drugs aren't the answer. It's not like if you see people on the stage like, well, they're doing that. Well, if you do that, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get that.
Exactly.
Because you already have to be putting in the work that he's putting in and that natural guy's putting in.
Yes.
They're both putting in the work. One is just running on some nitrous. Like you're running. It's a different, you know, it's a different racetrack. Just stay in your racetrack. You know what I mean? And I don't knock anybody for whatever choice they make. That's their choice. It's not for me to do. But in the natural organization, I can make sure that I keep a good racetrack.
Yeah.
I keep everything fair as far as that
Standard.
goes. Right. You have to keep a standard. You know, even with the standard, and Andy Bostinto, he's the founder of the NGA. And, you know, his wife is now the president. She's a lot younger than he is. So the NGA, and a lot of people ask, well, what's going to happen when Andy goes? I said, well, for one, he's got another 50 years. So
He's amazing. We met him at the last show.
at that point, he'd be 150.
Right.
We've got another 50. So, but anyways, his wife is significantly younger, which is good because she's been the president now for probably 2 or 3 years. I'm like, nothing's going to change. He's the founder now. He doesn't do anything. He's just Andy. You know what I mean? He's just an icon as far as that goes.
Exactly.
But there's a standard that a lot of these organizations are trying to break. And we need at least 5 people in the class to get a pro card. Or if there's 5 people, say there's lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, as long as there's 5 total there, we can give an overall a pro card. I've been seeing these organizations, there's 3 girls on stage, they'll give all 3 pro cards. They're like, well, they look like pros, they look good. I'm like, there's no standard. You're just watering it down. There's no, well, let them go into the pros because they're trying to build the pro ranks. Let them go into the pros, they just won't do that good. I'm like, there's no standard. And we've had people from the organizations, well, we'll accept a pro card. Like, when I went pro in this organization, was there 5 in your class? Well, no, there's only 4, but I got a pro card. Well, we won't take you. There has to be 5 and you have to prove it.
I love that.
If somebody wins a pro card in one category, are they pro across the board?
No.
Or only in the category that they won their
Just
pro
in the
card
pro category they run the pro card in.
And then they have to win their pro card in another category,
Yeah.
should they? Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to get these crossovers and it just really fouls up the pros because you're like, well, you're kind of physique and you wanted to do bodybuilding. I'm like, well, how did he get there? Like, what show did he win? Where was there 5 that this guy beat? You know what I mean? And they're just different categories. So you do have to have a standard. Otherwise it just gets all willy-nilly.
I love the not watering down of things because it makes such a huge difference. And it only stems from a place of someone like you that has been a competitor, that has passion, that knows what it feels like, because it's like, it's not about being difficult, but it's more like, if this isn't this way, then it's like, it's not going to feel good for the winner, for the athletes. You know, it doesn't feel the same.
I have seen in a show, a specific show, obviously I'm not going to name anything, there was one person in the category. They gave them the pro card because they're like, well, we felt that they looked pro. We felt that, so we granted them a pro card. For one, how did they feel about it? For two, what do you, the all pro card, I grant you pro card. There's nobody to compare it to. There's nothing, there's no standard. Well, you just need to get more people, or, you know, tell them, or just keep going. They will get a pro card eventually if you think they look that good. But I mean, that's an excuse to just try to build the pro ranks in that organization.
But that's just the business mentality versus the competitor passionate mentality. I know we've talked about that before, and you always say it's not really that person's fault that no one else showed up. And that's true, right? If I paid and I prepped and I did all the things and I show up that day and I'm the only one, like, that sucks, but hey, it is what it is.
Right. Do you want a pro card with one person?
Right. Keep going.
And
because
we've
if
had it
anything,
happen.
well, sure. And if anything, because in the NGA, if you win your pro card, you don't have to accept it. Or you can accept it, and so you have your pro card, but you can still compete as an amateur unless you win cash in the pro ranks. You know what I mean? So you could just stay amateur forever. Yeah, we've had some guys, and, you know, even like in our 60 category, the one guy wins a pro card every now and again. He's just like, no, I just want to do this. Like, I don't, you know, because he's 6 years old. He's like, what am I going to do in the pros? Like,
Right.
You know, and he just loves competing. And that's, you know, so, and that's what I'm saying about watering it down, because Andy Bostinto established he incorporated, I believe, in 1979. So it is the oldest natural bodybuilding organization in the world.
I love that.
It was somewhere in about 63. He actually started the NGA, but he actually incorporated it into bodybuilding in 79. Wow. You know what I mean? So you have to remember, this guy was like 1954 Mr. USA. Or something. Like,
wow.
I mean, it's insane. Like, if you sit down, and I do want to get you to talk to him.
Yeah,
we would love that.
Hold on.
He's lived 1,000,000 lifetimes, huh?
Hold on. Yes.
Yeah, we've been watching his trip to Germany.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's all there. That's what I get. This is no kidding. Before the universe, so we go out at the universe to get something to eat the night before. He gets up and he's like, oh, he's 99. He'll be 100 January 11th, I believe. And, you know, he's got his birthday party stuff we're going to. So he'll get up at the table and he's like, oh, he kind of bends his knees a little bit. And he's like, I get them knees warmed up. I'm like, Andy, you're 100, bro. I'm like, you're 100. He's like, yeah, but, you know, he does not use it for an excuse. Like if he gets a little something going, a little pain, he's asking his doctor's like, what's going on? It's like, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. You're just 100. Like, there's nothing to fix.
You put some miles on, you know?
Like, you are in great shape,
yes.
You know? I have a video on my phone. I'll show you later, where he's hitting his heavy bag. This was just a couple months ago when I went down there, and he's hitting his teardrop. I mean, he's sitting a pretty. I mean, he's 9 years old.
Incredible.
He's incredible.
We talked to him briefly at the show,
and
it was more than inspiring. You know, like to see what this sport can do for someone. Because the first thing he did is like, touch my arms. Like, they're still hard.
Were you like, what?
He's like, my back. And, you know, naturally, we're like, what's the secret? He's like, I work out every day.
He does.
And I'm like, that's the secret. Right. That's what we keep telling people. Just work out, move your body, eat
your body,
foods, drink water.
Like, and I wish that more people connected the dots, right? It's like, it isn't that you have to be a bodybuilder, but why not leverage something that has that level of progression built into it to continue to evolve, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're not moving forward, like we started this conversation, right? If you're not moving forward, then you're dying. So
no, absolutely. And it, you know, just like Jack LaLanne used to say, and you know, a little funny thing about Jack LaLanne is he was a great guy. He died I believe at 96. People are like, whoa, see, I'm like, he got pneumonia at 96. I mean, seriously. Well, they would interview him, say like, you know, his 80s and, you know, early 90s, something like, you know, everybody used to kind of make fun of you because he had like the bands and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, where are they at? They've been dead for 30, 40, 50 years.
I'm still here.
Seriously.
I love
and, you know what I mean? And, you know, I mean, it's not good that, you know, he got pneumonia, but pneumonia will kill young guys, young kids, you know, people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was older and that's what had happened. And so, but Andy knew him, and like Andy knows a lot. When you talk to him, just bring a lunch. Because he has a lot. You'll get into the war. you'll get into. I mean, he's been in World War II. I mean,
Amazing. Incredible.
I mean, what else? You know what I mean? Can he do? And he's seen, a lot of these organizations come in and out. He'll tell you who's who and how things formed, and that's why he has his his standards of
Right.
There's got to be 5 in a class. And there's been a few promoters that hammer on him, like, no, we need to change this. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, there's the standard. We want those good wins that, we want the, stuff like that to build the sport strong.
With that said, what do you wish more people knew or understood about natural bodybuilding?
That they knew, I guess just, there's so much to it. I mean, I just wish they knew how much goes into it for the promoters, as far as that goes. The information is all there. We can only put so much on the internet and things like that. But even when people register for my show, they get a welcome letter. You don't know how many times people are like 3 months later, like, well, what's this? I'm like, did you get the welcome letter? And they're like, no. Did you check your spam? Did you check even your regular folder? They look back and like, oh yeah, I got it. Because it is a good list of a lot of good information you would need. It welcomes you to your show, stuff like that. But these athletes do have to do the research. They have to listen. You coach people. You're like,
right.
I told you that yesterday. Like, what do you know?
Like,
what I
how
mean?
do any of these people get on their kids about not paying attention in class?
Right.
I'm like, how do you get through life?
Like, don't just sign up for a show and then disregard the rest.
Right.
It's like, be present, be involved, like
Yes,
like
be all
know
in.
what you're getting into. We always ask, like I said at the beginning, normally we talk to competitors, and I always ask competitors, what would you say to the person on the other side listening or watching that is on the fence about getting on stage? So same question from your perspective. For the person that has been watching all their friends step on stage or following the people that they follow on social, what do you say to the person that is still toying with the idea but
On the
just
fence.
won't do it?
Just jump in. Just jump in. Pick a show, find a friend to do it with, because obviously, in the scenario you're talking about, there's a friend that's been watching people do that. Pick a show with them, have fun, do your research on the show, sign up, get your entry fee, and get in, lock it in, and just do it. You will be so happy that you've done it. I've had people for 5 years like, yeah, I'm going to get you. I want to do it. I want to get you. I'm like, but you don't set a date. Well, I'm going to get in shape, and then we'll see how I look like a couple of weeks out. Nope, never show. You will never show because you will always pull the trigger on you. You're like, no, I don't look good enough. You're never going to think you look good enough.
Yes.
Shows that I've won the overall to, I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's very few where I go in and I'm like, I'm on.
I got this. Yeah.
And those are such good feelings. And usually that's by the vibe. Like when you're backstage and you start to like look around, and when you're the guy, because sometimes you're not the guy, that everybody's going, bro, you got that. I mean, I'm like, you think so? And all of a sudden you're like, all right, like, yeah. You know what I mean? But but I'll say that all the way to an athlete as well. If they look, I'm like, bro, it's your show. I'm like, I'm just hoping to get second. Like, man, he's like, really? You think so? You know what I mean? So
Of course.
and usually that's how it turns out because I know what I'm looking at. So
Absolutely.
But I agree with you. Until you have a date,
Yeah.
until you've paid your hard-earned money, you're not in. Like, and you won't do it. And we have people come to us all the time and be like, can you just prep me like as if I was getting on stage
You'll
and not?
never.
And then
Nope.
we're like, no, I can't, because you're not going to do it. There's no difference between the person that gets on stage and doesn't in terms of like, I can give you the same protocol. You're not going to have the same outcome because there's this fire in the belly of the person that knows that date is coming.
I always tell people, if you booked a cruise, you wouldn't cancel your cruise because you didn't prep. You're still going to go on your trip.
yeah,
This requires that you do it.
right.
Because you're getting on stage
That's the
to be
point of
judged.
the
That's
thing.
the point. So you can't prep like if you were going to get into a show without the show component.
Yes. Well, here's verbatim when I tell people. They're like, what keeps you on track? Like when, because I'll do the bodybuilding category. Like, what keeps you on track? I'm like, I'll tell you exactly what keeps me on track. I'm either going to get in there and in shape men's bodybuilding competitor, or I'm going to be a fat guy in women's underwear. I don't want to be a fat guy in women's underwear up there. That's what you are if you were not in shape.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Other than that, they don't realize you're wearing women's underwear. If you're in shape, they're looking at your body.
Ain't that the truth?
You think I'm kidding? That gets in your head, and you're just like, yeah, I'm not even fucking. No
I'm
way.
not gonna be that person.
Right. You know what I
I
mean?
love it. That's such a good.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
What are the dates of the shows for next year?
Oh, see, now you're putting me on the spot. So I got.
We're gonna link them anyway.
Yeah.
We got April. I know we have April because we have people for that show.
Yeah, so we have the NGA Amateur Extreme. We have April 19th for that. That's in Deltona. And then we have, let's see, May 10th. I do know that one. May 10th, that's in Deltona as well.
Okay.
That's for the Gator. And then we have the West Coast Classic. We're going to have that September 13th. That will be in St. Pete over that way.
Okay.
And then we have the East Coast Classic back at the same place, November 8th at the Deltona Center. And then the weekend right after that, we will have the Universe, the big show.
And then everyone can register at NGA Productions.
NGAGatorProductions.com.
NGAGatorProductions.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes for that, as well as your social media. Matt, it was great to talk to you about all things show production. We look forward to bringing our athletes to your show. We certainly left wanting to do that because we always want to provide a great experience for our people. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for putting on an amazing show.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. And, that is what we strive for. I tell all the athletes, try all the shows. Hopefully that it's just once you try mine, there's just no other reason. You know what I mean? I just want to give you the best option for coaches to put their athletes there and the athletes to want to come back.
Awesome.
That's all I can do is create that.
And guys, for all of you that want to re-listen to judging criteria or any of the things that we talked about on the show, you could always go back to those, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things that people do on podcasts. And until next time, peace out, everybody.
Bye, guys.